it going, folks. Every time I do this whole day, I could speak with so much clarity, even being in the middle of kind of a dust storm at my daughter's favorite park. And now I get in front of a microphone in my wonderful office, and I can't speak correctly. I've got I got something in my throat. I don't know. So weird. Health, allergies, the whole 9 yards. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just how it goes. A lot of people are having plagues lately. Maybe it's around the world. I just heard a guy from Nashville say that there's a plague going around Nashville. By plague, I mean illness. Maybe not severe illness. And we can't seem to stay healthy for more than 5 minutes. Actually, things are going a little bit better in my house. So this is a little bit of a panic episode, and I'm going to tell you why. I plan on having my father on, but he spends a lot of time out of cell service, fighting grizzly bears out in the north part of the... No, I'm kidding. He spends a lot of time out of cell service. So it's really hard for me to know if he can show up tomorrow afternoon. I'm recording this Thursday night on the 27th of March, the year of our Lord, 2025. So I'm recording a bit of a placeholder backup emergency podcast episode, and I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm sitting here with this microphone, and I had a couple really good ideas for solo podcasts. Could call it a solo cast, but I can't remember anything. I can't remember what I was going to talk about. I can't remember what the good ideas were. I had two really good ones. So I better get cracking with something. Again, I'm not editing. I'm not going to edit. There's a chance that some of the guests I have on here are going to have potty mouths. And I don't know how I'm going to get around that other than to say, look, this guy or this gal cusses a lot. If you have sensitive ears, just don't listen to this episode. But that's a bridge to cross at a different time. I got to tell you, there's some good weather. I'm hesitant to declare the beginning or end of any seasons in our fair state of Montana, but there's been some awesome weather here this week. Walking around in the park with my daughter. We reported a weirdo, by the way. Well, I did. Not that she can use a cell phone, and she won't hopefully be able to until she's 18. I'm not really even exaggerating. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. Topics just cascading in now. But we reported a weirdo. We were at the park, and there's this dude shuffling around, and he just had a creeper look to him. Just a creeper look. So I'm following my daughter around, and she's playing on different things and going down slides, and he didn't zone in on any one particular kid, but he just kept on walking laps around the entire park, but not exercise walking. Very, very slow-paced walking. Now, I'm one to call I'm one pot to call the kettle black. Such a good pun, because I usually wear all black, all black, everything. He had a black backpack, black jacket, black shoes. And I think you can kind of tell the difference between people who wear black because it's cool or people who wear black because they're preparing to hurt people. I don't know. But he was walking just like slow pace laps, kind of getting the lay of the land. And we were playing. I was watching my daughter play on different stuff. And we went down to the river and threw some stuff into the river, like mostly sticks, because that's all we could find. There's a rock shortage down at that part of the river, so that's kind of sad. I even considered bringing our own bucket of rocks with us, collecting rocks from other places so that we would have rocks to throw. Anyway, so we went down to the river, and we come back, and this guy is still walking laps around the park. It was at Story Mill Park in Bozeman. And I'm thinking, what is this guy's deal? Well, of course, my daughter gets tired and she says, Dad, I need you to carry me. And I said, I will carry you one way. You can sit on my shoulders and you can go that way, or you can walk. And she could walk. She was fine. But we're having a good old time. And I walk up on this guy. He's been slowly walking around the entirety of the park. Again, not exercise pace, just like weird pace, just looking at people and scoping things out. And I'm thinking, if we keep walking at the pace we're walking, we're going to run right into this guy. And I am not in the mood to have to confront somebody verbally or physically with my daughter right here, but I will. So we just slowed down. We sat on a bench, and he went one way, and we kind of went around the other way. Well, I see him not accost, but make a young mom very, very uncomfortable. You could tell he was trying to talk to her, and she kind of waved like no, and kept walking. And so I went my merry way around. And this should just prove that I don't look like an absolute creep, like I say I do. Because I came around and I said, hey, can I ask you a question to this young mom? And she goes, yeah, sure. Not creeped out. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, sure. Ask me a question. I said, did that guy set you off? And she said, yeah, he totally did. He creeped me out pretty bad. I said, all right, I'm going to report him. Well, by that time, this fellow was probably about 50 to 75 feet away from us, and I'm sure he could have heard me. I'm sure of it. And again, just totally creepy vibe. Did he do anything illegal? Not really. But you just kind of got, if you spent enough time around enough people that are super unpredictable and a little disturbingly dispositioned, you know when someone is a possible threat. If you've taken any sort of self-defense training, situational awareness training, you know when someone's a threat. And this guy was a threat. I'll go to my grave believing that. So I reported him. I gave the description, and I said he's walking around creeping people out. He just talked to this young woman, and she was very disturbed by how he approached her, and yeah, it wasn't good. And yeah, I just called it in. It was so weird because I think, seriously, this is going on. And you also think too, like when you get into your dad brain and your man brain, at least for me, when I became a dad, I knew that I could protect my daughter, or was at least willing to do whatever I could to protect my daughter. So I'm playing out these situations. What if he comes and tries to mess with me? He was close enough when I got in my car that I said, Zoe, get in your seat, and we're not buckling you, and we just want to get in the car. So we got in the car and called it in. And they seemed pretty appreciative that we let them know. The authorities, that is. But it's kind of interesting because there have been things around our town that have been super disturbing that have happened. I mean, super disturbing things. People being hurt and messed with. Just less than a block away from where I live and work, a person was stabbed. 2 people were stabbed. It was an altercation, but still, it's not necessarily fun to have that kind of stuff going on within a stone's throw of your house. It's just very strange. There was a guy, I think it was last summer, this weird old guy sunbathing at parks, like parks where children play. And man, I just think, bro, you're lucky you were not at the park when we were there, because you would have got hurt. But that's the issue, though. You can, in most cases, I think, you can avoid unnecessary confrontation. So this probably ties into our episode about we've talked about road rage, a few of the episodes in this podcast. But you don't have to always confront people, and in a lot of ways, confronting somebody could escalate the situation, and you do not want to escalate the situation. So, let's say I'm all hopped up on testosterone, and I go and I tell this guy, "You need to get out of here. You're creeping people out." Escalation. Nope, not going to work, because he's going to see that as an invitation to get physical, maybe, and not like like violently physical. Maybe have a yelling match. Who knows? I mean, who knows what he's got on him, this and stuff. I didn't have anything on me to defend myself or my kid, which I thought that was, to me, that's very irresponsible of me, and that's not going to happen again when we go to that park. You know, part of you wants to say, well, I'm just not coming back here. Like, if there's going to be dudes sauntering around just looking at kids and moms, I don't want to be here. But my daughter really loves the park, so it's kind of a conundrum. So another interesting part of this whole thing is we're down by East Gallatin River, and this guy just comes up to us and he's like, "Hey, is that your daughter?" And I go, "Yes, yeah." And I was nice to him, because once again, I would rather not tip my hand. And some of what I'm saying could be wrong, so don't take this all as gospel truth advice. But I don't want to tip my hand and immediately look like I'm hostile, because I don't think that gives him any sort of advantage. That's just my own opinion. And he was nice enough, and I was nice to him, but he looked like he was maybe not doing great in life. And not that means someone's going to hurt you. It doesn't always mean that. But mildly uncomfortable. And then he referred to God in a way that was super offensive. I mean, I wasn't offended because I hear that kind of stuff pretty regularly, but I just think the way he said it in front of my daughter, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I go, well, it's whatever, man. It's okay. I'm in a punk rock band. I've heard it all. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, two different fellas that made me and other people uncomfortable, because the second guy that had come up to us that was talking to me, he asked if Zoe was my daughter, and we had a nice talk about, kids need to be out in nature, kids need to be out doing stuff instead of inside, and everyone got locked down during COVID, and that was no good. And we had a nice little visit, but he had run into some people before us, and I could tell they were clearly uncomfortable, and so just kind of creepy. After I called the first guy I was talking about, after I called him in, I felt super weird, because he was just not right. You can just tell. So I guess I encourage you, just keep your head on a swivel, because we walk and drive around like a bunch of dopes thinking that no one's going to want to hurt us or do anything, and that's just not always the case. Not that you have to be paranoid or live in fear. That's not a great way to live. It's a horrible way to live. But just keep your head on a swivel. Be situationally aware. Avoid unnecessary confrontation. That's a big one, because most unstable people, if you try to outright confront them, they're gonna lose it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen a few times. But there we are, right in this town, this haven for the wealthy elite anymore, and there's fellas walking around creeping people out. And man, I have never really had something like that. We've had homeless guys. I wouldn't be surprised if the fellow was homeless. I heard just recently in a show that people are calling homeless unhoused. How is that any different? I mean, in an effort to be less offensive, unhoused. Unhoused. You don't have a home. Homeless. Same thing. But we've had it in church where homeless guys and homeless gals will walk in, and we used to leave our back door, which the back door comes right up behind the stage. We used to leave our back door unlocked because we just didn't think about it. And then a couple times, a homeless guy came in, or maybe it was just once, came in the back door right in the middle of a sermon, and I said, "Hey man, welcome, have a seat." And he did, and he was fine. But I mean, we've run into quite a few homeless people in our neighborhood and even in our church, and I guess I have run into one guy that came into church that set me on edge a little bit. I call him 3-coat guy. So he came in and he was wearing 3 coats, and he set his backpack to the side in a really weird way, and I'm thinking, all right, Lord, make it a clear shot if this is what's going down. We're getting ready to throw a Bible at him. And he ended up he ended up not doing anything, but he said some really weird stuff to my brother Jabin and to my daughter. And so that was kind of a deal where if I see him come back, I'm telling him he needs to leave. You just don't say the stuff he said. It was just so crazy. So that's the world we live in. I would say that's, Bozeman's going to pot, but I think it's just, Bozeman has gone to pot, cannabis. Anyway, but it's the world that we live in. We live in a world where it's always been this way. It's always been this way. People are people. And this book I like to read says that people are sinful from conception. It's very interesting. There's this old song that I learned for a funeral for a dearly departed individual in the Bozeman area, and it's called One Day at a Time. There's a Merle Haggard version, so I knew that was going to be the version that I wanted to sing. Anyway, and it's there's a line in there where it's like the songwriter is praying to Jesus, and they're saying, Lord, if you're looking below, it's worse now than then. Like the world is worse now than it was. And maybe in some ways you can make that argument that the world is worse than it was. I mean, some of the digital technology we have is opening up portals to things that are very unhelpful and unproductive. But do you really think that? I personally don't think people are any worse than they used to be. I don't think they're worse than they were long ago, before there was a bit of a reset. I don't think people are any more sinful. People are just sinful. That's what I believe. If that offends you, whatever. So, yeah, it's the world we live in. We live in a place where you're not always safe, and I think you just need to admit that and teach your kids that. Like, you're not always safe. You need to be aware. It was so funny to see my daughter's little face when I was on the phone with her. I don't know if I could fully see. She's in the back seat of the car, but I could just tell she was tuned in. And I told the operator or the dispatch person, I said, there's a chance he's just walking around trying to decompress. I totally get that. But the fact that he creeped out this lady, and it was weird, like he approached her very abruptly, and she kind of stepped back and put her hands up like, no, thank you. No, and kept going. And he did leave her alone, but just really made her uneasy. And that made me even more uneasy, because the moment I saw him, I knew this is a problem. And so just be watching. Like, you just need to watch. You need to be mindful of your surroundings. That's probably one of the things that gives my family and I road rage, is when people aren't paying attention to their surroundings. That can cause accidents. It can cause a lot of bad stuff. And just go away from threats unless they're hurting somebody and you feel like you are in a position to intervene and you can protect somebody who can't protect themselves, and by all means, yeah, help them out. But you've got to be looking. You've got to watch. You've got to watch people. And not that you have to be paranoid. Again, like I said, you don't want to live like that. You don't want to live where you're always afraid. You never know. There's a bad guy around every corner. There's not. But you do want to be careful. Human trafficking is a thing. Violence is a thing. There are, like, I'm sounding like my grandma. There's a lot of perverts out there. She used to tell me that there's a lot of sickos out there, Ruby. There are. Maybe not as many as she thinks, but there are. And so, yeah, just be careful. I guess that's kind of it. I'm not gonna ramble on about it. So there we go. We talked about situational awareness. Be situationally aware. If you have an opportunity to take self-defense courses. In my case, I took a concealed carry course, and I was so pleased with what I got out of that, because I had never thought about situational awareness. I kind of operated in that way, but it's really good to think about those types of things, like, where are the exits in the room? How can I get away from that threat? How can I protect my family? What would I do if someone broke into my house? What would I do if this guy accosts me? How do I get to a safe area? Those are really good things to think about and to receive some training. If you take a good concealed carry course, you will be trained in those things. After I took my course in Minnesota, I decided that I wasn't going to carry because I didn't feel like I was ready for it, and I wasn't ready for it for a long time. Now I am, and I will. Today I wasn't, and that, honestly, looking back, especially looking at some of the, I don't know how to put this. Looking at some of, how do I say this? Looking at some of the other dads at the park, I knew, except there was one guy, and I know he could hang. I could tell that. But looking at the other dads, I'm thinking, you guys are all wearing Carhartt stuff, but you probably all are total desk jockeys and cannot defend yourselves or other people. So I know you're not going to have anyone's back. It's just so crazy. Yeah. Interesting scenario. I think that's it. Forgive me, it's a placeholder. It might not be the most interesting thing. I do have 2 guests tentatively lined up. My dad will be coming on the show at some point. He's been working on stories, so it's going to be really fun. It'll be fun to have him. But I couldn't confirm whether or not he was going to come out here tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to head his way. Because, by the way, shameless self-promotion, which, by the way, why should there be shame in self-promotion if you're an artist? You got to promote your art. I am going to be at Sawdust and Steel, the brewery in Three Forks, Montana. Tonight is Thursday, and I got to type my password in so that I can get back to my calendar so I can tell you. So tonight is Thursday, March 27th. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is not Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, March 28th, and from 6 to 8 p.m., I will be playing an acoustic set at Sawdust and Steel. It's going to be really fun. I've been working on some cover tunes that I'm really excited to try out. Actually, after I get done with this, it's about 10:53 in the evening. As I record this, after I get done with this, I'm going to sit down with the old guitar and work out some stuff, because I heard a few songs today that I thought, oh, I've got to try this, I've got to try that, and it's hard to get them all learned. So anyway, come see me if you're hearing this and it's Friday the 28th, or somehow you're miraculously hearing this on Thursday the 27th of March 2025. Come out and see me. Come out and see me in Three Forks. They have great beer, wonderful people. Sometimes they have a food truck there, but if they don't, you can go get a Stage Line pizza, or you can go get food at the Sacagawea Inn. So, yeah, come hang out. Tomorrow night, 6 to 8, I'm playing. Hey, just another reminder, be situationally aware. Don't freak out. Don't be paranoid. But also, don't be dumb. This has been the Rubecast. Thank you so much for listening. Every single one of you who's been listening. My good cousin Wes, my friends, as I mentioned before, the Veltkamps, the Dykstra House boys have been tuning in. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to do this was to connect with family that I don't often get to see, even living in the same place. We don't always get to see each other, so it's just kind of a fun way to connect. It's been a really fun way. Shout out to my cousin Chase for also struggling with road rage. At least we can admit it. And you know what? The first step to the solution is admitting that you have a problem. And I suppose in our family, we have a bit of a road rage problem. Thank you so much for listening. We have more guests. Who's we? It's just me. I have more guests on the way. My dad, Brent Cinema, will be on here potentially tomorrow, maybe next week. And I have got my brother Caleb lined up. I got my friend Jared Hartley lined up. I got my friend Joe Espinoza lined up. So there's going to be some good ones. I've asked a couple other people, and I'm waiting for their carrier pigeons to come back, or signal fires to be lit on top of mountains, or whatever way they communicate. So I've got some exciting guests that I've kind of got in the works, but it takes a bit to wrangle this stuff. Looking so forward to having more people, and man, I love it. I love finding folks and visiting. So I'll sign off for like the 4th time. Thanks for listening. Keep your head on a swivel. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. God bless.